We are live.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Justin from Justice League Swag. Also, the Future Fighters here today, bringing you a discussion on Dragon Ein and generic shenanigans. Today we have with us Edgardo. Could say something.
Sorry about that. I had the mic off. I am Edgardo. I'm repping Arizona, Team Dragonic Fury. The world champ comes from my team, Austin Summers. Shout out to him, and shout out to my team. And yeah, we'll be discussing Dragon Eye today.
Next up, Jeremy.
We're repping Baja, Arizona. No, that's different. I guess you could say I kind of like Dragon Ein, so here today to talk about that.
Next up, Rayanne from Canada.
Yeah, Toronto here. I'm here to talk about generics.
Yeah. What's important is that he knows Joe and he knows Damien. It's important. He plays at the locals. Then, last but not least, Zach Zag.
Hey guys. I dabble in many things, so I don't know if my input will be.
Yeah, I dabble, but I'm
You're fine.
bad at some stuff. Alright, but first we're going to start off the conversation with generics. We know that Judgment used to run rampant in locals, and we really haven't seen anything from generics lately. So, Rayanne, let's hear what's going on with generic world.
Well, let's get the not necessary things through first, like chess. It's not really played. It's only seen any support in the very first set, and ever since then it hasn't seen anything. And unless it has something like Blue Sky Knights where it sees something, like, yeah, there's not much to talk about. The deck doesn't have anything to play with. It's just really bad stats and just very expensive gauge. Okay, so there's also Judgment. So Judgment, essentially back in BTO 4, it was introduced and was fairly competitive. I've seen there's two different variants. I've seen Magic World, but like the main one is Darkness Dragon World because of the milling. So the way the deck works is basically you would just stall out till you could get Judgment, which basically draws two. If you have 5 turrets in the drop, destroy 2, and if you have 5 destruction, and heal for 3 if you have 5 defense. So back then, like, Judgment was really good. Like, it had really good cards, like really good stats, very good defense, and it used a very good Darkness Dragon World spells to its advantage, especially like things like Death Grip. However, ever since then, like, Judgment hasn't really gotten any support, especially for carrots. So you can't. It kind of died off, but it could still see some play. But I wouldn't say really competitive play.
So, what things have you been playing around with? I know we have some new stuff for what is it, Battle Deity Robos?
Yeah, that's the one I'm mainly working on it right now. So, Battle Deity Robos is essentially a deck that revolves around discarding cards to get like effects off, as seen. And basically, with Battle Deity Robos, you would essentially want to discard a lot of cards. And so you would generally play Magic World for that because it has a lot of draw cards. Originally in HBTO 1, we saw like a couple cards introduced, and there wasn't really much to work with. And later on in HBTO 2, we got stuff like Search Well, which gave the deck some actual gauge and its first ride, and which had counterattack when it discarded. And so that's when the deck became something. Like it was like tier 2. Like it could win like if you tried, like maybe out of 10 times, but it had stuff to work with. But later we were introduced in generally in HBTO3, things like Battle Wizards. They were basically cards where you discarded them and you would get effects, so it gave more stuff for the deck to play with. And there's also obviously cards like Damage Control, which is its main defense. And it also had Operation Restraint, which is basically reduce all damage to 0 the next time you take a damage. If you were to discard a card, except if you had a Battle DD Robo and you didn't have to discard any card. So it was basically a chillax, minus the 1 gauge and the gaming life.
Okay. Sorry to cut you off there, but ideally, what deck do you primarily run these Battle Deity Robos in now? Like, is it anything like Darkness Dragon World, Magic World, or can you just toss them into any build?
I've honestly seen some debate about like running it in Hero World because of the ride, but I honestly feel like it should be in Magic World because the deck is all about deck thinning and discarding. And Hero World does have some form of draw. However, Magic World obviously excels in draw a lot better with things like Never Say Never and nice one and obviously the Battle Wizards.
I'm curious if you've played with Legend at all, considering there are discard effects and you're running Damage Control.
Legend, like, the thing with Legend is the discard effects is primarily stuff like Owldoll, but like you can't really utilize Iceblade Joker for the fact that of the ride, which you can only play like Battle DD Robos on the field due to the ride. So it kind of limits the discard.
Man, that kind of limits your options too with what is it, Omnilords. Do you run any Omnilords in the generic build?
Sadly, like, you can't really run it because like one of the main things is the ride, and that's what usually gets the deck going because of the new ride, I believe, introduced in Mikado Evolution, where you discard 1 and you either give the opponent minus 2k attack or minus 2k defense for the turn.
Okay.
So essentially, it's a 6k wall, and for lower stat decks, it can basically force the link attack, or if in some cases they would just end the turn.
Okay. So how competitive would you say the deck is now compared to like where Judgment used to be? Because I know like I heard a lot of talk about it being like tier 1, but we never really saw it do anything, or nobody really tried to do anything with it.
The thing about like Judgment is like you see like throughout the sets, especially in Darkness Dragon World, like you get some good destruction archetypes in the thing in Darkness Dragon World, like the Black Dragon, where when you attack, it pops the monster. Like, yeah, and it has a destruction, and that can also help towards your gauge drop zone. However, the problem is like the fact that you have to run turrets, and turrets aren't really like the best right now. Back in BTO4, like a 7k wall was pretty good. Like, Pillar of Fire couldn't deal with that, and a lot of decks couldn't swing that with 1 monster, and it kind of was a solid defense. But nowadays, with so much counter removal, like, it's not that good anymore.
Okay. So where would you say this new deck is? Battle Deity Robos and like the meta with Magic World used as its base.
I believe Magic World gives it a lot of good defensive options. Like, you can utilize Chillax in case like there's some situations where you want to gain life with the deck, like, and Operation Restraint doesn't really help because what if they impact you or something, like, or let's say like Gargantua you can't really like reduce that, but you can technically use Chillax to like survive that. And there's like various instances where it would be a better option, especially if you're getting pressured and you're lower at life and you need that extra life gain.
Okay. So what would you say is like your favorite matchup to use while playing Battle Deity Robos? generics?
Honestly, like Battle DD Robos is like anything not too big of a wall, but anything not rush, because the deck can't really deal with rush, especially something like Dungeon World, like because the reduce can only do so much,
Okay.
and walls like the decent thing about Battle DD Robos, like they can somewhat deal with walls because a lot of their cards can have 6k power, so like usually they can deal with like 6k walls, or they can at least link like to get rid of it.
Okay, so that's where I was going to next, where the weaknesses. So you say rush decks are a definite weakness, but wall decks not as much.
Also, any deck with like, well, not necessarily rush can be dealt with. However, something like counter removal, like weapon destruction, especially, or item destruction, to be specific, because your deck heavily relies on the ride, because it's a 6k. It forces your opponent to like link attack for 6k if they can't, and usually it also helps reduce like attack due to its counteract, where it minuses 2k attack.
Okay, but can you get multiple attacks with battle deities?
Multiple attacks?
Yeah.
It tends to like have a solid 7k like damage output per turn.
Okay, but I'm talking more of like almost every deck can do about 3 attacks a turn, but can it turn out maybe 4?
I don't believe non-magic world. If you were using it in hero world, maybe you can use a cyber and give it double attack.
Okay.
Maybe.
Because I'm just thinking of like the Ein matchup, like that would make the Ein matchup a headache, because ideally you're only going to pull 1 shield a turn from them.
Yeah.
And damage reduction against the sword is still just dropping it to about 2 damage unless you chillax. Like ultimately. And thinking about it too, I actually thought about an Omni Lord that you can run in generic. Well, even with the battle deities to get off that 4th attack, you can run Countdown of Distant Days, because he will ideally attack and then get off of the field. So then your ride is still open. You may want to try that out.
But the problem is, like, you can't run. You can only play battle deities.
You can only play battle deities if
on the field, like as monsters, as long as the ride is there.
As long as the ride is there, you can only play battle deities.
Which it kind of like leaves the deck in a weaker state because of the fact that it's the only deck that can can't really run on.
Okay. So
pudgy. He's kind of muscly, but not like.
So where would you put this deck then? Because it doesn't seem to have a lot of options or like maneuverability.
Well, no. Well, maneuverability, it has a lot of defense because of the fact that you can you can utilize things like goodbye. Like usually you can stop penetrate with that. You could play something in the center. You can also utilize a card called Mad Dancing, which is a set spell that allows your monsters to move. So that with goodbye can really synergize together.
Okay. All right.
And in general, the deck it has a lot of drop power. Considering the card called Dragon Ein, which is basically pay 1 gauge. It's a 6/2/1, I believe, 6/2/2, and you discard a Battle DD Robo and draw 2. So it's all about getting the whole field while still remaining with the same amount of cards, or even 1 extra card that you started it with at the beginning of turn.
Okay. I'm looking to see if we have any actual questions from the YouTube.
Nothing for generic, really.
Yeah, not from what I've seen.
All right, I guess thanks Rayanne, and we're
Yeah.
gonna start moving on to Dragon Ein. Yes, the main antagonist for the next season of Future Car Buddy Fight Triple D.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Ozzy Dahaka, please get a reprint, please. And thank you once, so that would be awesome. But we want to start talking to you, Edgardo and Jeremy. Your
Mm-hmm.
Dragonon builds. Ideally, what do you use? Purgatory Knights, Dragon Knights, or like Omni Dragons? What?
Whoever wants to start first, Jeremy, if you want, it's fine. Go ahead.
You go first. That's fine.
All right. Well, with me primarily, I built Purgatory Ein, and then I've also dabbled with Drum Bunker Ein, Dragon Attribute Ein, like just pure mix. I've also made size 3 builds, and then I've also had fun with Tim's Impact Ein. That was a lot of cards, but really fun to play with. Which is even getting more support with now that there's impact monsters, which will be interesting. But my main one was switching between Purgatory Ein and Dragon Attribute Ein with focus on like Drum the Neo and Tasuku. But like those are the main ones that I played. Otherwise, it was more so dabbling here and there. But that's the thing with Ein, you can kind of just make whatever you want, or even like if you find a card that has a dragon attribute, you can focus on that. Like I even played with the hero rescue dragons, because why not?
Yeah. For myself, I'm definitely in the same boat. I've tried the mix as well, just to get in a couple of really tech options. There was that one shiny Ancient Dragon promo. I'm trying to remember his name. Size 2, you could sack him and kill a size 1 counter speed. Tasuku, things like that I'm like, well, what can I fit into here? My perspective was more, if I'm going to play Dragon Ein, I'm going to, put the, 16 cards base in there to get Ozzy Dahaka off, or at least have a chance at it. So I've also been looking at it from the perspective of, okay, what types of dragon things can I put in here that will fit into the limited space availability. I've helped build Jackknife Ein before, and that usually goes without Ozzy Dahaka and a lot of the accoutrements for that. I think it leaves you a lot more space to fit in what you want, and then still enjoy a lot of the draw mechanics and other things that you get from having Dragon Attribute. But I've been going at it from the other angle, just stay to the theme, and then fit in good stuff, dragons, where I can. So right now I'm messing around with Drum, some Omni, before I did Dragon Knights, other things like that.
Okay. Well, I saw that you mentioned the superhero dragon, because I wasn't aware until I played one of my friends, Sean, that the rescue dragon that it on hits, I think he's 816, is a superhero as well as a dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so he dropped that on me. I didn't even know that he was a dragon. It's like really good. Like, what other kind of text do you run in your deck now that makes it like really good? Because I know the new execution sword that just came out for Darkness Dragon World is also a dragon, and one of its abilities is destroy. Yeah.
Execute sword strategy. Yeah, it is one of the easier ways to kill your Ozzy Dahaka, because it is a dragon attribute, and it's counter, kill, restand.
Yeah,
So,
that makes
yeah.
it pretty good. And then you can go into the sword in like one turn. So it's like
Yeah.
attack with the sword, attack with Ozzy Dahaka, sword's ability, kill off Ozzy Dahaka, bring out the
Yep.
big sword.
One of the things that I found to be really neat with the newer support that's come out is actually Demon Godel. Because yes, he's a dual dragon, but he's a free searcher for another one of him. So running 4 copies of him, he's easy fodder to kill off for Ozzy Dahaka. So like card advantage just helps a lot. Like I've splashed it in multiple builds that I've played, especially like even just the drum ones, just because like if you're playing an Ozzy Dahaka deck, you want to be able to get that monster to sack it for him. Because like good players like Austin, I'll play Zahak, I'll search for Ozzy Dahaka, and then he'll be like, and just kill it. And it's like, well, I can't play Ozzy now. Whereas now it's like, well, do you have 2 cards to kill my Demon Godels? If not, all right, cool. I'm getting an Aussie Daka this turn.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like that play actually. It adds like a good depth too. So if you can tech in the Demon Girls,
Yeah, tech in the Demon Godels, guys. If you guys are building onto the Haka, I
just
highly
because
recommend it.
part of the thing is you don't want to waste some of your shields right away, and they may be forced to attack the Demon Godel singly, which is still better than taking the damage.
You're plussing a lot just with Demon Godel in the deck alone, in my opinion. And then, of course, we also got the Inferno Shield, which is the sack a monster to negate an attack, and it can't be nullified. So, great for decks like Hero, anything that runs a major counter, stuff like that. So, just sack to win, pretty much. I use it as a 2 of. I haven't tried it as 4. I feel like that'd be a little bit heavy, just because then at that point you always have to have a monster that's worth sacking. I like it at around 2 or 3, depending on the build.
Okay, that's pretty good. Because another interesting tech that I've seen in it is the new El Quixote, because it adds pressure and you can actually have 2 of them on the field at the same time. A friend of mine, Clinton Harris, buddies him, so it's like he drops this guy. If he can't get the Zahak, like Ozzy the Haka plays going, is like, do you really want to waste your shield on this guy before he drops Ozzy the Haka? So it just adds another level of like pressure to the game.
To the person asking the question in the chat, the cost for Inferno, it is you can only cast it if you are being attacked, so they can't be attacking your Aussie, so you have to be being attacked directly, and it's destroy a monster on your field. So target Aussie, kill him. And then it's counter, nullify, gauge 1, gain 1 life, and this card cannot be nullified. So the only cast cost is to destroy one of your monsters.
Pretty good.
Yeah, saw that. So the other interesting tech, obviously, I'm sure people have already noticed it, but Dragon Knight Pissarro, just draw engine, pure draw engine. You can get 2 of these off and draw 2 cards every turn, let them survive, or again, even just fodder them to Inferno once you've had a big enough hand. I'm sure most people pick that card up for Ein.
Okay. But I think I used to play Dragon Ein like really well. Like I really loved the deck, but the only thing I did not like is like it felt like you had to run a certain amount of cards, like a certain like stack of cards, like Divine Dragon Creation had to be at 4 and Dragon Emperor Legend had to be at 4. Felt like you had to run so many cards just for the deck to like just like not stall out. Like, do you guys have the same issue with it?
I'll let Jeremy go ahead and go first on this since I've been talking so much.
It is definitely an issue if you're trying to keep the spine of the deck as Ozzy to Haka. It becomes the onus is on you to now make this a combo deck. You now have to have as much draw as possible, enough resources as possible. So yes, 4 Dragon Emperor Legends, 4 Divine Dragon Creations. As droll as it sounds that we're all reaching the same kind of conclusion there, it's an easy conclusion. If you're going to do that combo, you need the card draw to secure that. There is a little bit of searchability to it if you get Zahak, but as Eddie was pointing out, if they zap them, well, unless you have that card draw, you're not necessarily, or if you have some sort of searchability to other creatures, you're not going to be able to sack anything to put Ozzy on the board in the first place. It's more of an absolute need rather than an annoyance by my way of thinking. Plus, you're given that 12 spot of life to begin with. That is a starting resource. They only give you 4 cards to start with. That, I feel, is a cost of entry for having access to so many different Dragon Attribute cards. The 12 life, to me, is saying, okay, now that you've got Dragon Attribute cards, why don't you go spend that life on something like more cards? These cards to me aren't so much taking up room in the deck as they are shortening the deck towards what you're eventually trying to do. If Ozzy to Haka is in fact your goal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's exactly my point too on that retrospect. Like if you're running an Ozzy Dahaka deck, you're more than likely going to see 4 Divine, 4 Dragon Emperor Legends, and Shields, of course, because you either go for the combo or you don't. And if you're not, you can splash him, but in that case, then you better hope that you have other cards for card draw and resources. Like Demon Godo and Pissarro and stuff like that. Like it all depends on what you're really going for in the end. If you're going for like the Dragon Attribute decks where you just kind of want to play your favorite cards, or you want to play like Drum into Suku, then there's different resource cards for that where you don't even have to run Ozzy Dahaka. But getting Ozzy on board, and now with us having more sackability for him, you're definitely able to plus more so rather than minus so hard when someone just destroys the field and you're kind of left with no options.
Okay. So with the Ember set dropping like this week, are you guys looking forward to playing any of the new Omni Lords in the deck? I have like one in mind.
Depends.
That's a thinker.
Because like another sleeper card that a lot of people didn't realize is playable in Ozzy, but again, it's when you're not playing Ozzy, it's when you're playing like a Dragon deck, is Black Revenger. Black Revenger is the original trial deck card. It was a 2 of. It's 1 gauge, and you can only cast it if you're at 5 life or less. It lets you grab a size 1 and a size 2 from your drop. So recur the Tsuku's that died, recur, Demon Godels, anything that you really want to grab. That plus, Omnis, like you could just grab Omnis if you wanted to. So in that retrospect, I need to do some playtesting with it just because I haven't gotten to yet. But I think the biggest ones will probably end up being Catastrophe Chord, Mukuro, and probably maybe even Inverse Miseria. I have to kind of play around with it some. Depends on how that whole thing works out.
I like the Inverse Miseria idea mostly because if you are doing the combo out version of this, if you are trying to go for Ozzy, you do need some good alternate ways of walling and delaying because your setup is ostensibly going to take a little bit longer. Obviously, yes, you're probably going to run 12 shields in this deck, 10 to 12 shields, but those shields are much more efficiently applied once you already have Occultic Walnut on the field, and you can stop more for less, considering your starting lack of hand advantage. So I do appreciate the concept of Dark Miseria in this. That's one of the ones I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Okay. What about Inverse Asmodai? Couldn't that potentially Miller Ozzy Dahaka?
At that point, you're playing Cardfight Vanguard. You're sacking to win. That's exactly what that is. If you want to do that, you can. But
it's only 3 deep. I don't think it's deep enough of a check for how many Aussies you have in the deck. If you were running something like a Grangadez deck and you've got 8 different Grangadez and some other things in the deck, that's getting balls on that seems a little bit more easy and reliable. But at 3 deep on 4 Aussies in the entire deck, no, I'm not seeing that. Especially for gauge cost and other things like that. I think there's better uses of time and energy.
Yeah.
But it's a cute idea, and if it happens, holy crap.
I think major plus right there.
Yeah, I think Death Asmodai might also just be useful from the point of view that, since you already have Throne out there and you got a bunch of 2s, you can just start getting into other things, and it's virtually becoming a card that draws you 2 cards, like Divine Dragon Creation or something.
Yeah. I mean, in retrospect, yeah. I mean, it depends on where you're going with it. Again, it's that either combo piece or it's just kind of like whatever monsters you want. Because the other issue is what happens if you hit 2 Aussie? Then it's just awkward. Stuff like that. But I mean, it definitely is an option for Dragon Ein just because it's that mill 3 and go into something. But it really just kind of depends from there. It would be an interesting tech, but in terms of how sacky it is to hit an Aussie off of it every time, I probably might play around with it just cause, but going from there on, we'll have to see.
I know one person that would pull it off. Austin Summers would pull it off.
Funny enough, when I was first playing Purgatory Ein, I played him. It was actually on stream. It's on our channel. and I was doing great. And then he's like, you know what? I want to try it. He couldn't draw anything. He couldn't draw Demioses. He would just see shields all day. Like, he's like, this deck doesn't like me at all. I'm just not gonna play it.
All right, so you guys said with the best Omni Lords to go with this would be Inverse Missouri, Inverse Chord, what else?
If you need a wall, you can just use Grangadez, just cause.
Oh
It's a
yeah.
wall.
I mean, you've got that 12 life starting buffer. The 3 life link at the end of the day is not that much to you compared to a 10 life starter, so it could do.
I do like what's his name? I do like Original Countdown just for the sole focus that you can pay 1 life, bring him to field, sack him for Aussie. So.
And that 4K is that's not jump change, so it's a good link attack or just supplementary attack.
Yeah, that is hitting Metallica for 1 life.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Reasons why Death Metallica rust in pieces.
I think Punisher is good too. Hold on, I don't remember what his effect was.
Punisher.
Yeah, Drum the Punisher promo.
We haven't gotten it yet. Rex items, right?
It's 2 gauge. Put it on and put a card in its soul. Enters or when you are dealt damage, destroy an item on the field. Correct. So it's 1 item hate card that you can run.
I'd sideboard it, honestly.
Yeah.
There's other Omni Drums that I would definitely consider running first. I'm running kind of a full spread main deck right now, and then a couple in sideboard, drums and Omni Drums both. But they're an interesting kind of a toolbox of options. And then if you have even just one of each of the Omni Drums that you want, something like Super Deformed Drum can help tech what you need out of the drop at any point. And set up a good wall for later or a good supplementary creature later in the game. So
that's pretty good. So what types of decks do you like? Do you love playing against while playing Ein?
What do we enjoy? Basically, you're saying what do we enjoy playing when we're as Ein? Like, what do we like?
Yeah, like Dungeon Rush. What is it? Katana World. Danger World.
Well, like with newfound glory of having Inferno Shield, it's fun to run against Hero. In terms of gimmicks, it's really silly against Discard. And then it's also very interesting if someone ever decides to run it against Great Spell Ragnarok, because then you just sit on Ozzy, you let him stay, and then they go and pop off, and you're like, okay, cool, I'll sword. And they're like, well, no, that dies too. It's like, no, that's after. It's like, you helped me out here, buddy.
Oh, wait, correction. Doesn't Great Spell Ragnarok nullify
nullifies abilities, that is correct.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not a favorite matchup of mine for that reason. Anything like Star, Fairies, anything that's like nullifying my creature abilities, I'm like...
I spaced on that. It's been a while. Jeez.
Yeah. Yep.
We'll probably see a lot more hero decks here soon with that new set spell that came out.
Yeah. We'll probably see a lot of heroes, in which case just you can play walls, you can go here and there, like it's just back and forth. But since I played so many builds, I just played a variety of different decks against it. The 2 that I've played the most, obviously, is Dungeon, because Austin Summers, and just Dragon in general, so like 5th Omni, and then back before 5th Omni was a thing, it was just like the drum deck, drum.deck, Crimsons and whatnot. But in terms of that, like, the biggest thing against Dungeon is you have to start with a shield, and if you're going first, you expect to just have at least 2 shields in hand or you're dead.
It's one of the reasons I run 12. We are absolutely traumatized by a couple of worlds here at Locals, and one of them is Dungeon, and one of them is Star, and specifically Star Legend. And if you're not prepared to deal with your crap being nullified or having to guard hard early, then you just fall over and you don't even get a chance to set up, no matter what form of Ein you're using, and a few other decks besides. So, yeah.
That actually raises a good question, if you don't mind me jumping in here. So you talked about nullifying cards, right? So a lot of times, I don't know how many set spells that you guys end up running for as means of Dragon Throne, because I've seen people not run 4 but maybe 3 because they still rely on the Forza Hawks or something. Or since you only have the 4-card starting hand, opening up multiple copies of the same card is kind of annoying. And I guess the same question also applies to how many swords do you actually main deck?
When I'm main decking when I'm building Aussie, I only main deck 2 swords, 3 depending on what I'm having for draw engine. But on good point on that, Fair Skylines is a card, so you just start off with that if you have that bad of a hand. Hopefully it's in there and you can just discard and just draw. So that's a card that I tucked in for a bit every now and then.
Yep. I've had varying opinions on how many swords to run. Since I'm not trying to be super efficient with how much inclusion I do of Aussie to Haka stuff, I tend to feel a little bit more comfortable with 3 or 4, just because if I see one super early, I'm gauging it. It's gauge bait. But my particular style, I usually end up gauging so much that if I randomly run out of swords, I instantly regret having just 2 in the deck. So I think it depends on a number of factors, including your gauge engine, as to how many you might need, or maybe how dependent you are on having that sword for endgame. But I generally feel a little bit comfortable with 4, but when I get to sideboard game, those are some of the first slots to come down in number when I know I can do with a little bit lighter. Just for consistency, though, I usually start opening game with like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And for Thrones, what do you guys run 4s for Thrones?
It's a prerequisite to starting many forms of the deck. So 4 is, I mean, you're going to draw into it. You're going to get Ajdahak, or you're going to find it some other way. But the more copies, the better, honestly.
Yeah. Like it really just depends on, again, what you're focusing on. Like if you're focusing on Aussie, 4 is probably going to be your best bet. You can get away with 3, but again, it comes down to whether you're running even more draw engine, or you can run 3 if you're playing like a size 3 deck, and the only reason he's there is just because Aussie to Haka is going to be your winning condition.
Yeah.
Like then you can run it at 3 because you're going to stall out with the size 3s, make them kill them all, and then you're like, oh hey, here's a throne, or here, look, here's the 2 or 3 Zahawks I'm running in the size 3 build. It really comes down to what you want to focus on and then go from there. But in general aspect, I run 3 to 4. Like just depends.
For me, the answer is always 4, also because of specific trauma against Legend and Hero World with their ever-present, top decking of counter spells and crap like that. So they're always ready to stop like the one spell they know I need to put into play, and they're holding on to it. So having a 4th one just to kind of bait out of counterspell and then play another one later, not too bad. And you can kind of keep an eye on people's resources. If they're playing Star Dragon World, how much gauge they've got, how ready they are to pay life or get rid of a soul from their Neo Dragons. If they've got Garble Anchor, things like that. Just watching out for who's got counterspells and who doesn't, and keeping an eye on what's going on in your meta. So 3 versus 4, as far as that goes.
Okay. I definitely. So weaknesses, like you guys touched on that a little. It would be anything that can rush you faster than you could set up. So ideally, like Purgatory Knights, Dungeon World, stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any difficulties with other kind of meta decks like Fifth Omni, or what now that Jackknife Aster is a thing, even though only like 4 or 5 people have the full deck? It could be a secret.
The thing you have to consider is if they play monster removal, you're gonna have a hard time. So, DDW just in general has so much removal that
Greybard.
It's like, yeah, Greybard, Death Grip, all that good shenanigans. Like if you haven't set up your Aussie yet and you're like trying to go for game and then go into the sword combo and then they just go, no, kill your monster. It's like, well, there's my resource. That's how it was later back in the day, so Pillar of Fire just destroyed the deck in general. But aside from that, even with now that we have like Demon Gold and a couple other cards, your main stuff is, yes, aggro. Besides that, obviously, stars, and then just those precise counter spells if people are running them, depending on the deck.
Okay. Well,
Well, a question that we got from the stream was your guys' opinions on Victory Slash in the deck with the Aussie Sword.
Yeah, I was the one who actually.
I used to try.
I've tried that. That's a fun. Again, if you want to play like a gimmicky Aussie, you can go for it. There's a lot of other things you can play too.
I've got a slightly more fun gimmick that, because of my ever-present gauge build, and I'm willing to share this. This is pretty obvious.
I did see someone mention earlier about Ein Ritter. I have made that. It is fun. I probably should try remaking it, considering all the Jackknife support we've gotten.
It's so easy to get off Ritter with Star Guardians now. It's reliable. Whether or not the deck's good at the end is a thing, but it's good. It's easy to get off.
Because the last time I built it, I was running Jackknife SDs with Star, and then the Jackknife Evolutions, and then you just kind of go off from there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
We lost Justin.
Oh.
No, I was getting this guy.
Ein Ritter is a fun thing. Yes, it's
problem.
playable.
Luckily, you can only use one in Ein, just one, because it's the Omni Lord.
Yep.
But you could get it back with Black Revenger.
Correct. And that's a card I run in Jackknife Ein, just because searching helps a lot. And it's like, oh, I missed the one card I need, or hey, look, there's an SD in there, and I see there's an evolution. Well, I'll get the SD, evolve into Star, and then grab the evolution and put it on top. Like, there's just so much you can do with it.
Yeah, that's one thing I love about Ember's Cord. It's like deck thinning for whatever you need at the moment. Because I actually use it in Purgatory Nights now. It's like Ember's Cord, pay 2 gauge, get Demios. Your turn. You hit them, drop Demios. My turn. Purgatory Nights forever.
yeah. Forevering off of Catastrophe Cord is pretty nice. I am enjoying that as well.
Yeah, I just love the Omni Lords. Like, spice so many of them into it. Do you guys find yourself running, because of the gauge, Burn Nova? I don't know. I think I've seen somebody using that. It's like you lose the sword, but it's like, I don't know, the 3 gauge, to me, it's like, not worth it.
Not main board for me. It's a sideboard for stuff like Dungeon. Because then if they go full ham turn 1, it's like, oh, fine, I'll Burn Nova, I guess. And then you just kind of go from there.
Because they're holding onto a Burn Nova too. You just got to Burn Nova right back.
Yeah.
Well, it is pretty funny though if like your opponent does Burn Nova you while you're playing Ozzy, because like initially like they still lost.
Yeah, they're still gonna lose.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing. I just look for as many ways to troll Burn Nova as possible. Like how it really grinds my gears.
There are a couple of combos with Burn Nova where they do get a field to attack you with. There's the set spell for Ancient World that when when it leaves play, you get to search out your zeros, put them in play. If they manage to pull that off on you, they've got at least 2 attacks in on you. But unless they're playing that combo, they're really kind of stuck on 3 attacks that don't do anything against you. If you're short. So. Yeah,
I used to run it in Raging Spirits until my ex-minion used to troll the hell out of me, like because I built him a Darkness Dragon World deck, and of course he gray-barded me, then Davos then gray-barded again. I was like, so that's what I've been doing. If you
yeah. There's some silly things, but as to how someone was mentioning how we run Inverse Dawn in Ein, I prefer it against the 5th Omni setup. So it's a sideboard card. Again, most of my sideboard is like 3 or 4 Omnis and then some other cards, depending on where I want to go from there. But Inverse Dawn is great against 5th Omni, because then it's like, okay, here, burn. Oh, okay, cool. And then you just kind of go from there.
Okay. But typically, what types of cards do you usually sideboard in Dragon Ein?
I sideboard either more shields or I sideboard tech. So if I'm not seeing enough monsters, then I'll sideboard in Dark Revengers, or if I need something like item destruction or stuff like that, then that gets sided in. It all really depends on what the matchup is, but my sideboard tends to be Omni, item hate, and then it switches between like some monsters I want to run or stuff like impacts to kind of throw it off. Because right now I am mainboarding 3 of the secret impact, because sword plus any monster on the field is pretty much game, just in case. But yeah, so
one of the reasons I switched to Dragon Ein, I guess.
Yeah, Dragon Ein, pretty much. It's automatically at least 6 damage, so someone's gonna die.
That's especially with SD drum being a thing.
Yes.
Where he dies one and automatically comes back to the field if you play another drum. So it kind of gives you like more recycling. Dragon Ein is so good.
Yeah, Dragon Ein's getting a lot of support, and it's gotten a lot better, because like back then I only played like Neo, Tasuku, and like the promo manga drum, but now you have SD drum and you have like Jackknife drum. You have a lot of support going into it that makes it a lot more consistent. So it's nice.
Okay. Have you guys thought about using the new promo drum for, what is it, Star Dragon World? I know that's a thing now. He picks up a card from the drop zone for attack, and I don't know if that's useful in Ein or not, though. Probably not.
2 gauge for a size 2 that can just die on entry? Probably not. Because again, it's on enter search, so it's just like Star Guardian, where it can get killed by a Pillar of Fire or a Death Grip. Like, it's an on enter effect, so I'd rather have something that just gets Soul Guard as a call cost, in my opinion.
It wasn't for that 2 gauge. You could fake your opponent out and save your Zahak. But let his drum die for you.
Yeah. Another interesting thing for someone, how they were saying if Ein going into the DDD meta, the biggest thing I can tell you is that Distortion Punisher is a dragon attribute card.
Yep.
So that might be sideboard for some Ein players. So beware. That is a back pocket card for sure.
Yeah.
SP is really pretty.
Yeah, I have 3.
I have 2. Sad face.
I lost all my Darkness Dragon World foils. Sad face. I got rid of those so long ago.
Oh.
Yeah, it's all right.
Such a thing. Darkness Dragon World, man.
I know. It was tough times, and I got rid of all that stuff. And speaking of which, how you mentioned it earlier, I'm one of the new Aster players, so expect me to see that.
Oh yeah, you're one of the 5 that managed to collect full playset of Aster.
Yeah.
2 of each.
Yeah, 4 Tasuku, man, because it's all about that
like
Tasuku
both.
life.
I like both.
I only like, yeah. But that I've also saw someone ask about that at the beginning of like before all of this. It was on the Facebook page. If Star Ein is a thing, it can be, but in what it comes down to is that all of the Star Dragon World cards that require or like will get you the advantage of having Dragon Arms in the Soul can't be played because they're not Dragon attribute. Sure, you can play Aster. Yes, you can play stuff like Black Revenger to get recursion and stuff like that. It's still going to be about you actually having to have the cards in your hand and then play them all. You can't just kind of like hope for the best. Because if you're going to play like a combo piece deck like that, it gets really wonky. It's kind of how like original Jackknife Gold Ritter was back when Dragon World.
Whereas just the Star Guardian Jackknives alone, many of the variants will come in, get soul, be well protected, and then allow you to set up other things, such as if you're building for Gold Ritter, quite easily. And they're very secure on that, but they don't need Dragon Arms support. That's something that I find unfeasible because, like what Eddie was saying, plus the amount of actual design space in the deck for cards like that is not very big. You're better building towards something else like Ritter.
Let's see. Opinion of fighting against Black Dragons. That's a good one. When Black Dragons becomes more meta, like obviously probably like 2 or 3 weeks, With the discards, I'll probably just run more Black Revengers in a build that runs like drum and stuff, because it's like, oh, okay, cool, fodder. All right, well, you're giving me my deck for 1 gauge. That's fine. I'm okay with this. So I mean, we'll see. It all comes down to playtesting at that point. Like I know that's the most important question that everyone asks is like, how does it do against this deck? How does it do against this deck? The biggest thing with Buddy Fight and why I enjoy it so much is that you can make a deck however you want, and you can tech specific cards in that it's not always going to be the same matchup every single time. So you can't really say it's good against this or it's good against that. The only thing you can say is, well, it's Darkness Dragon World. What do they have that's beneficial for them? They have the mill, they have Death Grips, they have Black Dragon Shields. Like, what staple cards am I going to run into, and how am I going to avoid or get around them? So in this case, since they're running Black Dragon Shield, like I wouldn't play Distortion Punisher. I'd play something that, you know, kind of goes around that whole aspect. Or, you know, hey, they're doing mill, then I need to run something that can get me that drop zone. So both of the, the original Dawn and stuff like that, just, it all depends.
Yep. Yeah, that's very important, because that's one thing I always notice. Like whenever I go to other places and play, people that use the same worlds or decks, like they always play different. Like playing against Zach, he's always cautious, but then it's like playing against Austin, it's like he's so reckless. It's like he'll go all in and like totally destroy my strategy, because I'm used to playing against Zach and I'm like holding this dark energy for him to like lose his monster. He's like, no, attack with my weapon alone. Like, no, Austin, you're doing this wrong.
Yeah, Austin has me and Austin playtested so much that we kind of both have that retrospect of that, like, you can go all in or you can't, or you can go here and go there. That's how, like, when our first Buddy Fight tournament was back in Cali, when I played Danger, and I had 5 Armor Knight Cerberus Ace, and the Cerberus cards weren't even out yet. The Extra Booster wasn't out, and I buddied him. I just went face against a lot of people, because a lot of people were like, oh, I have a good monster on the board, you're probably going to kill it. No, I'm just going to focus you because you probably don't have shields, and that was the answer most of the time. So, like, coming down to once you play somebody and once you play different variety of play styles, which is why I went through so many decks, was to give Austin and my teammates, like, hey, this is how you play against this, or hey, this is how you play against this. And, you know, changing the style is one of the bigger things of how you play that actually will help you see how other people will play. So when playtesting, the biggest thing you should look into, outside of like your card base, is let's try playing this aggressively for 10 games. Now let's try playing it defensively for 10 games. How does it work out for me better? Like, pure example is Justin G's aggressive Purgatory Knights. That's a build that is completely on the other side of the spectrum in terms of me, because I play it as a control deck. So both are great, but it all comes down to how do you play it. Because deck teching and, like, you know, copying decks from some of us or here and there, the other thing you have to keep in mind is how it was built with the mentality. Because if you're playing a aggro deck and it's built for aggro and you're playing it defensively, you're playing it wrong. That's probably why you're losing, and a lot of other things in general. So
I mean, there's like
what?
I was gonna say there's a. Oh, sorry, I'm speaking over you.
No, I was just gonna say I'm glad he said that, because it's like a lot of people, like only people like that, like play locally with like me understand, like, and people ask me for deck lists all the time, and I'm like, what I give you, is it probably gonna work for you? Because I'm not a person that cares about hand advantage. I just want you to die. Like, literally, that's all that's on my mind. How many times can I hit you until you stop moving?
Yeah.
That is it. So I will drop my entire hand for game and just deal with the repercussions if you survive.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the biggest things. That's also why I like when I'm playing with Austin and a couple other my teammates, we'll actually switch decks, because then we can see like how it'll play out, or hey, you know, what kind of hands can I get, type of thing. But that's the biggest thing going in for people, like in the Buddy Fight community in general, is like, if we give you lists, you have to consider 3 things: the style we play it as, the way it's built, and our local meta. Because like here, we have what's Arizona like right now? I'm the only star player, and I am about to finish it, so we haven't even gotten to really play test against that yet. But aside from that, like, there's a mix of items. It's not too important, But then in other places, you know, you have huge item decks, or you have, you know, size 3 decks, and it's like, well, the deck's going to change depending on that. So that's things you need to take into account, and that's things that you want to explore as someone who's building a deck, is how is my community compared to how it is it's going to be, you know, going into the Buddy Fight tournaments at Cali. So, like, when I played Danger, I mainboarded item hate, because back then a lot of people ran items in the Dragon decks. Or, you know, how there's impacts now. Impacts are going to be a big thing. So if you're playing DDW, Bad Trap's a great card. It's a great card. So stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that too, because our local meta is like very aggressive. Everything is open center, no wall decks. Like, we don't have anybody playing a wall deck here. Like, everything is superheroes, Fifth Omni, what is it, Star Dragon World open center, and then like Darkness Dragon World, like Danger World. Everybody is just playing open center here.
Yeah, ours is what is ours? We have Fifth Omni, Control Purgs, Aggro Purgs, Wall Spirits, 100 Demons, Danger, and what was the other one? And then Dragon Knights, and then Ein. Like, that's the mixture. And then we're getting more players in, thankfully. We'll be actually hosting a lot with the those new trial decks coming out that you mentioned, Justin G.
Yeah. Yeah, it's our new players are killing me, because it's like I always end up building everybody's decks, and everybody that comes in wants to play Hero World. So it's like half of our like tournament staff.
See, it's opposite. It's opposite over here.
Yeah, we've almost completely dropped Hero in our local meta for now. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, up here in Toronto, there's like barely any Hero.
We have. That's the other deck that I was missing. Kaiseron. We have a Kaiseron player as well. Mm-hmm. But now we have 3 hero players, one being Austin Summers. So look forward to that. But besides that, yeah, like, there was no real hero matchups to play against other than Kaiseron. It's like, well, that's the only viable one at the moment. But now with all the new support, Mukro's the new setup. So Dark Heroes, that's something we'll play test against.
How to beat Austin. Barbed wires.
Yeah, guys, if you haven't yet, make sure you grab those barbed wires, because Mukro's going to be a pain. Yep. That's all I can say.
Yeah, he is double attack, and Kane's a crit. Jeez.
But if you're playing Dragon World, what is there? Drago Desperate, and I can't remember what the other card is. There's like 2 item hate cards, but yeah.
Yeah. But we're about at that time for the feed. I want to thank you for participating, Edgardo, Jeremy, and Rayan. Zach for hosting. Thanks. We're going to have Star Dragon World talk coming up later on around 10. I'm going to try to get home before the actual stream starts, or I die from a tornado. You can check us out on our Facebook group. I know some of the guys that are on this channel have YouTube channels that we're going to add in the description. So if you want to hear more from Edgardo, we're going to post his thing. Jeremy, do you have a channel?
Not currently, but we'll be adding one as soon as we can here, actually. Okay. It'll be fun.
Jeremy's going to make a channel, and then I'm going to promote it. And then, Reagan, do you have a channel?
One day.
Okay,
like a group channel.
Make a channel too, and then we're going to promote it. Everybody make a channel. Let's go, Buddy Fight. So,
you get a channel. You get a channel. Everybody gets a channel.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, it was fun. Justin G, thank you for hosting us, and Zach as well. And yeah, I look forward to seeing where this game is going, especially with the new trial decks and the new season starting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, sweet. With, I guess, those words, we can close it out. And as always, guys, thanks for watching.